Found an old video of my girlfriend involved in BDSM with her friend. Now I struggle to discuss it without causing chaos. I've been in a relationship with Kat, F26, for just over 2 years now, and honestly, I've never been so satisfied with a relationship before. She's exactly what I never realized I wanted. Sure, we have the occasional small arguments, but they're always the sort that get sorted out with a good talk, or after we cool off for a couple of hours. That's our rhythm, and it's always felt healthy. A while ago, I made this photo montage of our last vacation together, and Kat absolutely loved it. That got me thinking. I wanted to create a montage spanning her whole life, from her baby years right up to the first photo we'll take together when she moves in with me in February, after her lease is up. For that, I needed some older photos of her, so I let her know I needed them for a project. She handed me an external hard drive, told me there's a folder named Memories filled with her photos, all out of order, and warned me there were some with her ex-boyfriend from an overseas trip she wanted to keep for the memories of the place. Last night, I finally found the time to start going through the photos. There are a ton, all jumbled together with no structure. As I'm clicking through at random, I notice a strange folder mixed in with the photos. Its name is a mess of brackets, numbers, and letters, but it had files inside, so I was curious. I opened it. 2 images. One is a screenshot of shoes on some shopping app. The other is a blurry selfie with a thumb half over the lens. Then, there's a video. It's short, 53 seconds. The first few seconds are just someone fumbling with the phone, but then, the camera tilts down, and there's Kat's back, naked. The movements, the sounds, it's immediately clear she's having sex with someone. For the record, there's nothing here that would suggest she cheated on me. Her back tattoo is there, but it's less complete than when we met, and her hair is cut much shorter. If I compare it to other pictures, I'd guess she was 18 or 19 at the time. We both knew neither of us was a virgin when we got together, but having this visual knowledge burned into my brain? It's unsettling. But as much as I try to tell myself there's nothing wrong here, my mind is spinning for 3 reasons. First, in the video she's in crotchless panties with a little bunny tail, and in one moment I can spot what looks like a small whip, the type jockeys use. I've never seen the slightest sign she's into that with me. But the part that bothers me most is when I notice her right wrist. There's a handcuff, the kind with pink fluffy covering, and the other cuff swings open. What's really jarring is that Kat absolutely despises being held by her wrists. The first time I did it during sex, she tensed up instantly and froze, so much that I stopped and asked if she was okay. She asked me never to do that again, so I suggested we come up with a safe word so she could stop anything she was uncomfortable with. We've never even had to use it. Now, seeing this video, my mind can't help but wonder, does she not trust me the way she trusted this guy? Did something change? Am I missing something? The second thing is the mere existence of the video. Kat loves photographs, but never anything overtly sexual, just sexy outfits, and even those are pretty tame. She's definitely flirty, even a little inappropriate on calls or in texts, but she told me, point blank, that I should never expect nudes or vids. She won't send them, she won't let me take them, and honestly, I don't care, I prefer the real thing. And now, there's this video. The third, and the thing really eating away at me, is that I'm almost certain the guy in the video is her friend. Mark, M26. At the end of the clip, the camera turns toward her wrist. There's a tattoo in exactly the same spot, identical to Mark's. I can't imagine she's met 2 guys with the same tattoo in the same place. She and Mark have been friends since their first year of college, so the timeline fits. It's not like they're BFFs who are always together or hang alone at each other's apartments. They see each other maybe once a month when their group gets together for dinner or drinks, usually with me. There too. I've been racking my brain over and over, trying to recall anything about their interactions that would hint at something more than friendship, and I just come up empty. He has a girlfriend too, and honestly, the way he looks at her is the way I look at Kat. It's not that I expect Kat to tell me every single relationship she's ever had, but if there's someone she still sees on a regular basis, even semi-regularly, I'd expect at least a heads up, especially considering how set up that scene looked in the video. That's what's making me lose my mind. Rationally, I know there's nothing wrong, but my body is buzzing with stress like never before. I need to talk to her about this before it bottles up even more. I already had a terrible night's sleep over it, and tonight is shaping up to be the same. I'm just worried that having this talk while I'm so on edge will make everything worse, and honestly, I'm kind of terrified about what I'll find if I dig any deeper. I know this is a massive rant, but I'm barely holding it together right now, and it turns out I had much more to vent than I realized. I just need to figure out, how do I approach this conversation? Now, maybe my English isn't as flawless as I thought, because I genuinely can't believe how many people seem to think I'm mad about not being able to do BDSM with my girlfriend. I never wanted that. It's not something I have any desire to try apart from doing something for her if she wanted it. The real issue in my head is, if this is something she's interested in, why hasn't it ever come up in a 2-year relationship? Plus, it doesn't help that Mark doesn't seem to be an ex, at least, not one she mentioned when we discussed our past relationships at the beginning, which either means he's someone she was seeing and didn't tell me about, or maybe it was a FWB situation, or something else entirely. It's this lack of context that's making my mind spiral and why I know I need to talk to her before I explode. And just to be clear, I didn't snoop through her phone or anything. She gave me the external hard drive, told me which folder to use, and the video was hidden in a weirdly named folder inside the memories folder. I'm going to talk to her tonight after she comes home from work. She already knows something's up. Last night I couldn't sleep, and she noticed how late I was up. This morning, she checked in on me. You're not yourself the last 2 days, is there something going on? All I could say was that I'm feeling weirdly stressed and that she shouldn't worry. There's no point in having this conversation before she goes to work. I just hope I can figure out how to talk to her about it tonight without making things worse. I had to head in for work. I honestly can't say for sure if I'll have it in me to share an update right after we talk. My head might be all over the place. But I suppose, at some point, I'll have to say something. Update 1. The advice I received about truly listening to her, instead of grilling her with questions and turning our talk into an interrogation, saved our conversation from becoming much more complicated than it needed to be. I won't act like everything is perfect now, there's trust to rebuild, and I'm still struggling to process the image I saw in that video. It's fresh in my mind, like a stubborn ghost my brain keeps throwing forward. I just need time to shake it off. Recently, an old friend called to check up on me after my girlfriend, Kat, had reached out, worried about how I'd been acting over the last 2 days. When I told him I needed to talk things through with her, he simply said, "That's fine, just remember Kat isn't Mary. Mary was an ex of mine, don't bring that baggage with you. If there's a problem, talk it out. But don't blame your girlfriend for someone else's mistakes." Hearing that was like a light flipping on. I hadn't realized just how much old trauma was bubbling up and coloring my reactions, how much I was afraid of reliving some past nightmare all over again. I came home that evening to find Kat already wanting to talk. I told her if she wanted to shower first, I'd make us some tea, and then we'd talk. I told her I loved her, that I wasn't accusing her of anything, wasn't angry. I was dealing with something internal, and she was the only person who could help me get past it. I just needed her to be honest with me, and not to hide things. She agreed. So I asked, as straightforward as I could, "When you gave me the external hard drive to get those photos, did you know there was a video in there of you and someone, I think Mark, having sex?" "That's not possible, I deleted it years ago," she said, and then broke down in tears. She hugged me, I hugged her back almost without thinking. In between her sobs, she begged me not to be mad and to let her explain. I told her again, I wasn't mad, I just wanted the truth. After she calmed down, she told me it happened about 3 weeks after her 19th birthday. She'd broken up with her high school boyfriend a couple months before, and she and Mark had been drinking together in her apartment after a night out. Things escalated, and something happened between them. The next morning, they both felt embarrassed. Mark was worried he'd taken advantage of her because of her recent breakup. She was worried Mark had feelings for her, and she only saw him as a friend. They agreed it was a drunken hookup, nothing more, and didn't want to pursue it. At one point, Mark asked if she remembered making a video. They checked both their phones. There was a video and a photo on hers, which she deleted right then. After that, she never saw those files again and assumed they were gone for good. She said she and Mark avoided each other for months after because of how awkward it all was, and nothing further happened. The whole time she spoke, I watched her. She held eye contact, obviously tense, but nothing seemed off. I had no reason not to believe her. The handcuffs? Just a joke birthday gift from her girlfriends. They happened to be in her room, so they opened the set for laughs. We only talked about that yesterday, since my head was full of other questions at the time. I asked why she never told me about any of this before. She explained, when she started dating her ex, Mark was out of the country, so she never mentioned anything to her then boyfriend. By the time Mark returned, her ex was already jealous and controlling, so she didn't want to add fuel to the fire. Later, Mark started seeing someone and told his girlfriend about the old hookup after she asked. His girlfriend then made it public at a group outing, and Kat's ex exploded. Their relationship imploded to the point of harassment and stalking. Mark's girlfriend broke up with him too after seeing Kat break things off with her ex as proof of feelings for Mark and started behaving erratically. Kat didn't tell me at first because she wasn't sure how I'd react, and then, when she realized I wasn't like her ex, too much time had passed and she just let it go. She apologized for not coming clean, admitted it was the wrong call, and said she should have told me and let me decide if I was comfortable with it. When she mentioned her ex being abusive, I gently asked if that was the reason for her issue with being held by the wrists. It wasn't. He was verbally and psychologically abusive, never physical. There had been someone else after she dumped her ex, a guy in her friend group with a hidden crush. He got drunk at a party, cornered her alone on a balcony, and tried to make an unwanted advance. When she rejected him, he grabbed her wrists and pinned her to the wall. Fortunately, a friend saw from inside and stopped him. The whole group cut the guy off, and last she heard, he had moved away. Still, she realized if they had been truly alone, the situation could have escalated badly, and when I had grabbed her wrists once, her reaction was just a reflex from that memory. Knowing this explained why, early in our relationship, she always seemed to need extra time to feel comfortable being alone with me. After all of that, I just felt emotionally drained. My mind kept replaying everything. We sat in silence for a long time. Eventually, Kat took my hands, apologized again, and told me she couldn't erase what I saw, but it was truly in the past. She asked what she could do to make things easier for me. Honestly, my mind was fried. Then she did something completely unexpected. She called Mark, put him on speaker, and motioned for me to stay quiet. She asked if he could talk, or if his girlfriend was around. His response was telling. That's a weird thing to ask. I'm alone. Is something wrong? She told him that I had seen the video. The whole conversation echoed everything she'd already told me. I didn't say a word. Mark had no idea I was listening. He freaked out, said, I saw you delete that shit. And referred to it as a one-time meaningless thing and a drunk hookup that keeps coming back to haunt us. He was also worried I would tell his girlfriend, like his crazy ex had done. After all of this, Kat looked at me and asked if I needed space, but what I wanted most was to have her close. I told her if she didn't want to be in bed with me, I could sleep in my study, but I wanted her near. She wanted to be close as well, deeply so. Yesterday, instead of going to the party as we'd planned, we spent the whole day together. We just talked, held on to each other, and found comfort in the quiet that wrapped around us. The tension didn't vanish, but it softened between us. She and Mark decided to take a break from their friendship. Mark told his girlfriend everything, and, strangely enough, she took it much better than I did. They both agreed that putting some distance between themselves was the right thing to do, at least for now. She looked straight at me and offered something I didn't expect. She said she'd only go out with the group if I was there, regardless of whether Mark came along or not. It was her own way of reassuring me, of saying that she understood how much this mattered. As for me, I asked for just one thing, some time, and that she wouldn't try to initiate sex right now. I need my mind to be clear before we cross that bridge again. This stress, this weight, I want it to release and settle before I try to move forward with her in that way. Update 2. It's been about 3 weeks since everything came out, and I thought things were settling down. Kat and I had been rebuilding slowly, having deeper conversations, spending quiet evenings together, and honestly, it felt like we were getting back to ourselves. She'd kept her word about only going out when I was there, and Mark had completely stepped back from the group. His girlfriend Sarah had been surprisingly understanding, which made me feel like maybe I'd overreacted to the whole situation. Last Friday, we finally felt ready to be intimate again. It was gentle, different somehow, like we were rediscovering each other. Afterward, as we lay there, Kat said something that's been echoing in my head ever since. I'm glad we can finally put all this behind us. The way she said it felt. Final. Too final. Then yesterday happened. I was at work when I got a text from Sarah, Mark's girlfriend. We'd never texted before, which immediately put me on edge. The message was short. Can we meet for coffee? There's something about Mark and Kat you need to know. My stomach dropped. I stared at that message for probably 10 minutes before responding that I could meet her after work. The rest of my day was a blur of anxiety and worst-case scenarios running through my mind. Sarah looked nervous when I arrived at the cafe, fidgeting with her cup and avoiding eye contact. After some awkward small talk, she finally said, I lied when Mark told me about the video. I didn't take it well at all. I've been going through his phone for weeks. My heart started racing. And? There are messages, recent ones. From 2 weeks ago. She pulled out her phone, hands shaking slightly. I took screenshots because I thought you deserved to know. The messages she showed me made my blood run cold. They were between Mark and Kat, sent the day after she and I had our big conversation, the same day she called him on speaker while I listened. Mark, that was close. Good thinking with the call. Kat, I hated lying to his face like that, but what choice did I have? Mark, the video story worked perfectly. He bought every word. Kat, I just need him to trust me again. Give it a few more weeks and this will all blow over. Mark, what about us? Kat, nothing changes. We just have to be more careful. There were more messages, but Sarah said she'd only screenshot the worst ones. Apparently, there had been ongoing communication between them throughout our entire relationship. The drunk hookup story was fabricated. They'd been seeing each other on and off for years, including recently. I sat there staring at those messages, feeling like the world was tilting. Sarah kept apologizing, saying she almost didn't tell me, but she couldn't live with knowing and staying silent. There's more, she said quietly. Mark told me they never actually stopped seeing each other. The video? It wasn't from when they were 19. Mark said it was from last year, before you moved in together. Everything clicked into place with sickening clarity. The handcuffs, the sexual preferences she claimed to have no interest in, the way she'd been so specific about deleting the video years ago, it was all carefully constructed lies. I drove home in a daze, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles were white. Kat was already there, making dinner like nothing had happened. She smiled when she saw me, asked about my day, kissed my cheek. I couldn't bring myself to confront her immediately. Instead, I said I needed to grab something from my car and went back outside to call my friend, the same one who'd reminded me not to bring Mary's baggage into this relationship. When I told him what Sarah had shown me, there was a long silence. Fuck, man. I'm sorry. What are you going to do? I honestly don't know. I'm sitting in my car outside our apartment right now, writing this. Kat texted asking if I'm okay, saying dinner's getting cold. The woman I thought I knew, the one who cried in my arms and begged me not to be mad, who looked me in the eyes and lied so convincingly that I felt guilty for doubting her. I don't know who she is anymore. I have to go back inside. I have to face her. But I have no idea what I'm going to say or how I'm going to get through tonight pretending everything is normal while I figure out my next move. This isn't the woman I fell in love with. This isn't the relationship I thought we had. And I'm terrified that everything over the past 2 years has been as fake as that story about the video. Update 3. I couldn't go back inside that night. I sat in my car for 2 hours, staring at those screenshots Sarah had sent me, until my phone died. When I finally walked through the door, Kat was curled up on the couch, the dinner she'd made still sitting untouched on the table. She looked up at me with those same concerned eyes that had fooled me so completely before. "Where were you?" I was getting worried. I told her I'd driven around to clear my head after a stressful day at work. She bought it, just like she'd bought every other lie in our relationship. We went to bed, and she fell asleep easily against my shoulder while I stared at the ceiling until dawn. The next morning, I called in sick to work. After Kat left for her job, I did something I never thought I'd do. I went through everything. Her laptop, the external hard drive again, anything I could find. I'm not proud of it, but I needed to know how deep this went. What I found was worse than I'd imagined. Buried in her email drafts were messages she'd never sent, probably practicing what to say to me. One from 3 weeks ago read, "I need to tell him about Mark before he finds out another way. I'll say it was just once, years ago. If I cry enough, he'll believe me." But the real gut punch came when I found a group chat between Kat and her girlfriends from last month. They were discussing my photo project and how she could use it as an opportunity. One friend even joked about how sweet it was that I wanted to make a montage of her life, and Kat responded, "I know, right? Sometimes I feel bad for him. He has no idea what he's gotten himself into." I screenshot everything and sent it to my own email before deleting the evidence. Then I sat in our living room, and tried to figure out who the hell I'd been living with for 2 years. The hardest part was acting normal when she came home. She made dinner again, chatted about her day, even suggested we watch a movie together. I nodded and smiled and played the part of the loving boyfriend while inside I was falling apart. Wednesday night, everything changed. Kat said she was going out with her girlfriends, just dinner and drinks, she'd be home by 10. I told her to have fun and settled into work on some projects. Around 9:30, my phone buzzed with a notification from the doorbell camera I'd installed last month for security. It was Mark, standing at our door. I watched the footage in real time as he used a key to let himself in. A fucking key. To the apartment I was paying half the rent for. I heard him call out, "Kat?" And then footsteps heading toward the bedroom. My blood went cold. She wasn't supposed to be home for another hour, but clearly, they'd coordinated this. I quietly grabbed my laptop and hid in the coat closet near the front door, leaving it cracked just enough to hear. About 20 minutes later, I heard Kat's voice as she came through the door. "Did anyone see you come up?" "No, coast is clear." "How long do we have?" I told him I'd be back by 10. "We need to be quick." What followed was the sound of them heading to my bedroom, and I honestly thought I might throw up. I sat in that closet for 45 minutes, listening to the woman I'd planned to propose to next month having sex with another man in the bed we shared. Around 10:15, I heard Mark leave through the back door that leads to the alley. 5 minutes later, Kat came home through the front door, calling out that she was back early because she'd had a headache. I emerged from the closet and greeted her normally, asking how her night was. She hugged me, still smelling like someone else, and told me all about the fictional dinner with her girlfriends. She even had details, what restaurant they'd gone to, what Sarah from work had said about her new haircut. All lies, delivered with the same concerned, loving expression she'd worn when she'd cried in my arms 3 weeks ago. That night, as she slept next to me, I made my decision. I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. I was going to find out exactly how long this had been going on and what else she'd lied about. If she could play this game for 2 years, I could play it for a few more days. Yesterday, I called Sarah and asked if we could meet again. She looked even more nervous than before. "There's something else, isn't there?" I asked. She nodded, pulling out her phone. "Mark's been bragging. To his buddies, not just to me. About how he's been keeping Kat warm throughout your entire relationship. He showed them photos." My hands started shaking. "What kind of photos?" "Recent ones. From your apartment. Some are from last week." She showed me pictures Mark had sent to a group chat with his friends. Photos of Kat in our bed, in our shower, wearing lingerie I'd never seen before. Comments from his friends about how lucky he was to have a girl on the side whose boyfriend was paying all the bills. But the worst part was the timestamps. They lined up perfectly with days when Kat had told me she was working late, or out with friends, or when I'd been out of town for work. Mark had been in our apartment regularly for months, maybe longer. "There's one more thing," Sarah said quietly. "Mark thinks Kat might be pregnant." The world stopped. "What?" He mentioned it to his friends. Said she'd been acting weird lately, and they'd been careless a few times recently. He was joking about how it would be hilarious if you ended up raising his kid. I sat there in stunned silence while Sarah apologized over and over. Finally, I asked her to send me everything, all the screenshots, all the evidence. She hesitated. "What are you going to do?" "I honestly don't know yet. But I need to be smart about this. I'm writing this from a hotel room. I told Kat I had to go out of town for work until Sunday. She seemed almost relieved, probably planning to spend the weekend with Mark. I've been sitting here for hours, going through 2 years of memories and trying to figure out what was real and what was performance. The engagement ring I bought last month is sitting on the desk next to me. I was going to propose on the anniversary of our first date, next weekend. Instead, I'm planning how to completely disappear from the life I thought we were building together. I don't know what I'm going to do about the pregnancy thing. I'm not even sure if it's true or just Mark's wishful thinking. But the thought that there might be a child involved makes everything infinitely more complicated. The worst part is that I still love her. Even knowing everything I know now, some part of me still loves the version of Kat I thought I knew. And that might be the cruelest joke of all. Update 4. I spent the entire weekend in that hotel room, going over everything I thought I knew about my relationship. By Sunday evening, I'd made a decision that surprised even me. I wasn't going to blow everything up immediately. I needed more information, and I needed to be strategic about this. When I got back to the apartment Sunday night, Kat was waiting with takeout from my favorite Thai place. She seemed genuinely happy to see me, asking about my work trip and telling me how much she'd missed me. The performance was flawless, as always. But I noticed something different. She kept touching her stomach absent-mindedly, and when I offered her a glass of wine with dinner, she declined, saying she was trying to be healthier. The pregnancy thing might actually be real. Monday morning, I did something I never thought I'd do. I called a private investigator. The guy came recommended from a divorce attorney my friend had used years ago. I met him at a coffee shop during my lunch break, and within an hour, he'd laid out exactly what kind of evidence I'd need and how long it would take to get it. You want to know the truth about your girlfriend's activities, her finances, the full scope of this relationship with Mark, and you want documentation that would hold up legally if needed, he summarized. Give me 2 weeks. 2 weeks of pretending everything was normal. 2 weeks of kissing her good morning and asking about her day while knowing she was living a double life. But I figured if she could do it for 2 years, I could manage 14 days. The first breakthrough came Wednesday. I'd installed a GPS tracker on her car, something I felt sick about, but I needed to know where she was really going. The app showed she'd driven to a medical complex across town during her lunch break. When she got home that evening, I casually asked how her day was. "Oh, just the usual. Boring meetings, boring lunch at my desk," she said, not missing a beat. That night, I heard her on the phone in the bathroom with the water running. I couldn't make out words, but the tone was urgent, almost panicked. When she came out, she said her mom had called about some family drama and she might need to visit home soon. By Friday, the private investigator had his first report. Kat had indeed been to a medical clinic on Wednesday, specifically, an OB/GYN office. She'd also been there the previous Tuesday, when she'd told me she was working late. The investigator had photos of her entering and leaving both times. But the real bombshell came when he showed me surveillance footage from our apartment building. Mark hadn't just been coming over when I was out of town. He'd been there at least twice a week for the past 6 months, always when I was at work. The building's security cameras had captured everything. Him using his key, staying for hours, leaving through different exits. "There's something else," the investigator said, sliding another photo across the table. This was taken yesterday. It was Kat and Mark at a jewelry store downtown. She was trying on rings. My blood went cold. Wedding rings? The store clerk confirmed they were looking at engagement rings. The woman told the clerk she wanted something different from what her boyfriend would choose because she was planning to leave him soon. I sat there staring at the photo, trying to process what I was seeing. They weren't just having an affair, they were planning a future together. While I was paying rent on an apartment where her real boyfriend stored his things, they were shopping for engagement rings. That weekend, everything started falling apart faster than I could keep up with. Saturday morning, Kat announced she needed to go visit her mother for a family emergency. She'd be gone until Monday night, maybe Tuesday. "What kind of emergency?" I asked. "Just some health stuff with my dad." "I don't really want to get into it right now," she said, not meeting my eyes. "I know it's sudden, but I need to be there for my mom." I told her of course she should go, that family comes first. I even offered to come with her for support, knowing she'd refuse. "No, it's better if I handle this alone. You know how my parents are." After she left, I called her mother. "Oh, hi honey." Her mom said cheerfully. "How are you? We haven't heard from Kat in weeks." "I'm fine, Mrs. Chen. I was actually calling to check on Kat's dad. She mentioned he was having some health issues?" There was a pause. "Health issues? No, he's fine. We're actually leaving for a cruise tomorrow. Is everything okay?" I made up some excuse about being confused and hung up. Then I checked the GPS tracker. Kat's car was at Mark's apartment complex. But Sunday brought the revelation that made everything else pale in comparison. I was doing laundry when I found a crumpled receipt in the pocket of jeans she'd worn earlier in the week. It was from the medical clinic, and it wasn't for a pregnancy test. It was for STD testing. Dated 3 days ago. My hands were shaking as I stared at that receipt. We'd been having unprotected sex for over a year. If she was getting tested, it meant she was worried about something. Or someone had asked her to get tested. I called my doctor immediately and scheduled an appointment for Monday morning. That evening, Kat called from her mother's house to check in. She sounded relaxed, happy even. In the background, I could hear music in what sounded like a restaurant. "How's your dad?" I asked. "Oh, hanging in there. Mom's pretty stressed though. I might need to stay an extra day or two." "Of course, take all the time you need. I love you." "I love you too," she said, and for a split second, she almost sounded like she meant it. After we hung up, I sat in our living room, my living room, since I'd been paying the full rent for months while she saved money, and tried to figure out what hurt more, the cheating, the lies, or the fact that she'd put my health at risk without me knowing it. The private investigator called around 10 p.m. "You need to see this," he said. "Can you meet me tomorrow morning?" "What did you find?" "It's not just Mark. There's someone else." I barely slept that night. When I did drift off, I dreamed about that engagement ring I'd bought, still sitting in my hotel room safe. In the dream, I was putting it on someone else's finger, but I couldn't see their face. Tomorrow, I find out just how deep this rabbit hole goes, and then I have to decide whether the woman I've been living with for 2 years is someone I ever really knew at all.